There has always been a prophecy on the continent of heroes. The day the legendary hero draws the holy sword will mark the end of the demon race's reign. But this year was the 15th year of Demon Queen Elizabeth's rule, and the legendary hero had yet to appear. On the contrary, under the Demon Queen's absolute dominion, discrimination between the races had vanished. Everyone could coexist as equals, and the continent entered an unprecedented era of prosperity. Fearing the loss of this peace, the common folk had even established an anti-hero alliance. However, none of this was what Elizabeth wanted. She had painstakingly deciphered ancient magical texts to create a world-ending spell, all in anticipation of the hero's challenge. Yet to this day, she didn't even know the hero's name, making the suffering she had endured feel like a joke. She went directly to the holy sword, and under the horrified gazes of everyone present, forcefully drew the Alpha Holy Sword, which belonged to the hero. The immense backlash of power forced the onlookers to erect a barrier to defend themselves. Soon, a pillar of energy shot through the castle and into the heavens. A moment later, the energy dissipated, revealing Elizabeth holding the holy sword. She sneered to herself, "Who is it that prophesied only the legendary hero could draw it?" But as soon as the words left her mouth, an image from hundreds of thousands of kilometers away suddenly appeared in her mind. On a desolate hill, there stood a humble tile-roofed house. Elizabeth suddenly understood. The hero had been hiding there all along. A red light enveloped her body, and she waved her hand to summon a teleportation array. Meanwhile, the legendary hero was engrossed in his daily farming, unwilling to leave the novice village. This was because, in his previous life, he was an ordinary office worker. One day, while commuting home on the subway, he and the handle he was holding were suddenly transported to this world of sword and magic. Under the guidance of a novice system, Ling slowly learned the basic survival skills of this world. The system urged him to leave the novice village, defeat the great demon queen, and become the legendary hero. But the current Leping just wanted to live a peaceful life. The village was protected by a special time barrier that completely concealed it and made a single day feel much longer than 24 hours. Although Ling was still clueless about sword and magic, for someone who had no interest in adventuring, building his ideal pastoral home was his lifelong dream. The system was so furious it crashed on the spot, leaving only a final message. "Hope you get killed by the Demon Queen soon before vanishing forever." One day while he was farming, he saw the dark clouds in the sky twist and gathered together. "Is it going to rain all of a sudden? My clothes and dried fish are still outside." He immediately rushed back to his courtyard. In reality, it was the Demon Queen Elizabeth teleporting to his location. She watched this so-called hero rush back to collect his laundry and felt a wave of speechlessness. Just then, an electronic pet dog named Wong Kai started barking. Ling initially thought it was just fooling around, but then he noticed its behavior was unusually agitated. Ling subconsciously glanced at the sky and saw a dark figure hovering in midair. "Wong Kai, what's that thing in the sky?" Elizabeth heard him loud and clear. "How dull. And you dare call me your queen?" "A thing," Ling quickly explained. No, I'm sorry. I couldn't see clearly just now." Elizabeth couldn't be bothered with his nonsense and decided to verify his identity first. A golden stream of light shot down from the sky towards Ling. Before he could even understand what was happening, the light circled around him and landed automatically in his palm, as if guided by some strange impulse. Ling gripped the holy sword and swung it, the blade cutting through the air and revealing the powerful aura of the hero. But when Elizabeth returned the holy sword to Ling, she discovered his magical sensitivity was so low, he was worse than an ordinary soldier. Is he hiding his true strength? Ling was already overwhelmed. And then he noticed the electronic pet dog at his feet was growling. "Why is the Demon Queen here?" "Shut up, you stupid dog. Don't provoke her." Suddenly, a fierce wind howled in the sky. Elizabeth summoned 3 massive magic circles, and from their centers, gigantic meteorites began to emerge. In that instant, Leping finally understood that what the system had said was true. The meeting of the hero and the Demon Queen was inevitable, even if he never left the novice village. Thinking this, he dropped the Alpha Holy Sword and walked, trembling, back into his house. Leping was just a rookie, and the final boss had already come knocking. He had no choice but to accept his fate. "I've had a happy time here. I can die with no regrets. Let me in, and this home returned to nothingness together." However, Leping's unusual actions led Elizabeth to imagine a completely different scenario. That parting smile seemed to say to her, "Bring it on." The more Elizabeth thought about it, the angrier she became. Feeling she was being looked down upon by the hero, she immediately commanded the 3 massive meteorites to smash into the small house. At that critical moment, Wong Kai on the ground suddenly activated. It ran complex code from its database. Its outer shell opened up, revealing all sorts of missile launchers and cannons. Before the 3 meteorites could hit, it fired missiles that blew them into countless fragments. Elizabeth was surprised. So it's an intelligent, highly magical tool. No wonder the legendary hero is so arrogant. But before me, everything is inferior. She quickly cast her world-ending spell, gathering tens of thousands of miles of dark clouds. A sphere of purple light slowly descended from within. I have no more interest in testing you. Let's end this here. At that moment, Wong Kai once again ran its complex code and spat out a black energy crystal from its mouth, though only the size of a walnut. The crystal contained terrifying power. A stream of black light shot out, looking insignificant in front of the massive world-ending sphere. Elizabeth calmly tilted her head, dodging the black beam. It's useless. Just disappear along with this continent. But as soon as she finished speaking, the crystal triggered a quantum black hole within the world-ending spell. The energy that could have destroyed the world vanished in an instant. Elizabeth looked on in disbelief. My world-ending spell was broken. What did that hero do inside the house? What she didn't know was that Ling had already accepted his fate and was lying on his bed waiting to die. Elizabeth decided to descend to the ground and get a good look at this highly magical tool. But Wong Kai couldn't speak, only barking woof, woof, woof incessantly. Elizabeth couldn't help but laugh at herself to think I would be looked down upon by a magical tool. But don't get too cocky. So far, I've used less than 30% of my power. You insolent thing. Let me show you what true terror is. With that, Elizabeth activated her demon god form, entering her strongest demon god form and battling it to the death for a full hour. At that moment, Ling, who had been waiting to die in his house, happened to wake up. He looked around and found everything at home was normal, and it seemed quiet outside. Is that demon queen still waiting for me out there? She's that crazy? The courtyard was filled with thick smoke, as if a great battle had just taken place. The demon queen was covered in wounds, clutching the now-wrecked electronic pet dog and tossing it to the ground like trash. My apologies. I've completely destroyed that magical tool you were so proud of. Ling's voice trembled slightly. It's okay. Can't we just sit down and talk things out? Elizabeth's consciousness began to blur. Damn it. To make me fight to my limit. Is this the ending the prophecy spoke of? Finally, Elizabeth's body lost its balance and collapsed to the ground. Seeing this, Li Ping rushed forward to help her up. Just as he was about to check her injuries, he saw the demonic horns on her head and the clothes on her body vanish simultaneously, leaving only a naked body before his eyes. At that moment, Lu Ping's blood pressure skyrocketed and a nosebleed shot out 2.5 meters. Soon night fell. When Elizabeth woke up, she was surprised to find her hands bound together by Ling. He didn't kill me while I was unconscious. Instead, he imprisoned me. Is he trying to show off his power to the world? Elizabeth tried to use her magic to break free, but she couldn't. She guessed it was another legendary grade magical tool she had never seen before. What other terrifying power is that guy hiding? Elizabeth looked around the room and saw many strange objects. I was too careless. It seems this hero is far more sinister than I imagined. While Elizabeth's mind was racing, Ling walked in with a tray of food. He wanted to use this opportunity to suck up to the demon queen and save his own life. I think there must be some misunderstanding between us. I'll untie you right now and we can have a proper chat. But Elizabeth interpreted his words as, you've misunderstood from the very beginning. You thought you were strong enough to challenge me. The hero, you're gravely mistaken. If you want to live, you'll have to satisfy my every demand. Elizabeth swallowed hard, thinking, this pervert is clearly threatening me. Then Ling untied Elizabeth's hands. I'm untying you to prove I mean no harm. We agreed. We'll talk properly. Okay. Elizabeth stubbornly turned her head away, feeling her current situation was very disadvantageous. I'll endure it for now and come back for revenge later. In truth, the reason Li Ping didn't kill the demon queen while she was unconscious was that he had never killed anyone before. And he figured a demon queen would naturally have a resurrection skill to resolve the conflict between a hero and a demon queen. Fighting wasn't the only way. If he could show he was no threat to her and befriend her, he could continue to live his reclusive life. As he thought this, a silly grin appeared on his face. However, Elizabeth saw this as the hero mocking her. Just then, Li Ping picked up the broken electronic pet dog. Wong Kai, How did you get so wrecked? Elizabeth asked tentatively. Is this thing your most powerful magical tool? Lang explained that Wonkai was something he had developed in the last 2 years, but it was actually just a small toy he made out of boredom. However, Elizabeth took his words to heart. This time, it's your turn to be careless. After untying me, I can secretly use abyss magic to recover quickly without the protection of your strongest magical tool. You're like a man who's lost his right arm. The scales of power have tipped in my favor. Now is the perfect time for me to eliminate you, the legendary hero. Little did she know, he then pushed open a cabinet, revealing a pile of spare parts. The Demon Queen's rage was doused as if by a bucket of cold water. As long as the memory card wasn't damaged, it could be inserted into a spare body to restore its functions. Ling explained that Wonkai was sometimes naughty, so he only kept one active at home for companionship. However, this loving scene appeared very different in Elizabeth's mind. After imagining a sinister scenario, Elizabeth sank powerlessly onto the bed. It was then that she noticed a fragrant aroma in the room. Lang explained, I saw you had fainted, so I made you something to eat to warm you up. On the table was a simple bowl of meat congee and a plate of ordinary dumplings. The Demon Queen declared that only the weak needed to eat. She had reached a transcendent state and had no need for such things. But despite her words, her throat made an audible gulp, and her stomach followed with a growl. It turned out that even a Demon Queen couldn't resist delicious food. Ling explained that the ingredients were all grown by him, completely natural, and he hoped she would try them. The Demon Queen was intrigued by these strange foods and casually picked up a dumpling to eat. At first, she ate slowly and expressionlessly, but her pace quickened until the entire plate of dumplings was gone. Elizabeth felt the meat juices explode in her mouth like fireworks, containing a high concentration of magical energy. She was reluctant to even swallow the last bite. However, when Elizabeth swallowed the last of the meat juice, something strange happened. Her body erupted with excitement like a volcano. She couldn't help but let out a few delicate cries, her whole body growing hot and trembling. Her hands tore her clothes and her legs twisted together. She demanded to know what Lang had put in the food. Lang explained that he had added a little chili pepper, not realizing the Demon Queen couldn't handle spicy food. Elizabeth's mind raced again. So this evil hero imprisoned me just to use me for his research experiments. Just then, Leping remembered he also had a bowl of preserved egg and lean pork congee, which would surely cool her down. Elizabeth thought, this guy feeds me poison and then gives me the antidote. He's clearly toying with me. But the strange sensation was too uncomfortable. So Elizabeth steeled herself and tried a spoonful. As soon as she ate it, the hot, restless feeling vanished, and her body felt as if it were floating on cool, calm water, ruling the world. Demon queens and heroes. All the troubles of the world seemed to have nothing to do with her. Soon Elizabeth's power level broke through, reaching the rank of a 3-star demon queen. She had never imagined that she could advance her strength through food. She began to reevaluate the hero before her. Stop pretending. What do you really want? But Leping said, actually, I just want us to work together and see if a demon queen and a hero can coexist. However, in Elizabeth's ears, his words became, in this world, only you are worthy of being my research subject. I will help you become stronger, and then you will defeat me. At this, Lang weakly asked, is that okay? I'll continue to make you delicious food to serve you. But these words twisted again in Elizabeth's mind. If you want to get stronger, I can help you. I'm looking forward to seeing if you can really defeat me. Elizabeth sighed in resignation. Hearing her sigh, Lang nearly fell apart, thinking the Demon Queen was still going to kill him. Elizabeth climbed onto the bed and looked down at Lang. Listen to me. I can agree to your terms, but make it clear that I'm not doing this because I fear you, but because I seek the pinnacle of power. Lang was speechless, thinking, fear me for what? But since she was the Demon Queen, whatever she said went. Elizabeth continued fiercely. Don't think that just because I'm living here, I'll bow down to you. My dignity will never be compromised. I would sacrifice everything to destroy you. Ling nodded. Understood. Then let's try to get along, Elizabeth commanded. What other delicious food do you have? I want it all. Unexpectedly, the Demon Queen and the hero could coexist, and they even lived together for 1.5 years. The once elegant Elizabeth had now turned into a lazy couch potato who loved eating potato chips. Every day, she either watched heart-wrenching romance dramas or ate the delicious dishes the hero Leping prepared for her. She was now so lazy that she even used magic to sprout a small pair of wings to fly to the dinner table. What kind of poison are these potato chips you're feeding me? The more I eat, the lazier I become. Looping had to explain, Potato chips are high in calories. Eating too many leads to fat accumulation, which naturally makes a person lazy. Hearing this, Elizabeth finally noticed her own flap. She snapped her fingers and used abyss magic to envelop her body. In an instant, her bloated figure returned to its former curvy state. Sorry to disappoint you. I've converted all the accumulated fat into magical power. Ling was dumbfounded. He never knew magic could be used that way. Elizabeth chuckled. Another one of your schemes foiled by me. Ling didn't want to argue. You're right about everything. Let's eat. Although Elizabeth always claimed Leping was poisoning her, she would instantly forget all about it whenever she saw delicious food, ignoring any supposed schemes or conspiracies and devouring it all. Ling would grumble from the side, "If it's not enough, I'll just make more. It's fine if you eat a lot." But his casual words were once again misinterpreted by Elizabeth. "You're still too weak. I'll fatten you up before slaughtering you." Every time she imagined such a scene, Elizabeth would fly into a rage. "I've broken through more than 10 times this year. It's time for a final battle." But then, Leping would take a pudding out of the refrigerator. In that moment, Elizabeth's eyes would clear, and all thoughts of final battles and world domination would vanish. Ling found that the Demon Queen wasn't so hard to handle after all. As long as the food was good, she could be calmed down. However, ever since the Demon Queen had forcefully broken into the novice village and destroyed its protective barrier, the flow of time here gradually synchronized with the outside world. Time synchronization wasn't a big deal, but what was worse was that without the barrier's protection, the novice village lost its hidden status and was completely exposed to the wilderness. And the magical beasts that roamed nearby seemed to be anything but simple. Lang guessed it was because of the Demon Queen's presence that those beasts didn't dare approach his courtyard. Meanwhile, on a nearby plain, a middle-aged man was fleeing with his daughter, pursued by 3 humanoid monsters wearing strange masks. Their claws tore through the space in the air, creating sharp blades that flew towards the fleeing pair. Soon the blades split and plunged into the ground, forming a cage of claws. Blocked, the middle-aged man drew his great sword. "Yilfu, wait here. I'll hold them off. You keep running toward the town, and you'll be safe." Yilfu shook her head. "How can I leave you and escape alone, Dad?" The middle-aged man's eyes were firm. "I promised your mother I would protect you." Just then, a humanoid monster levitated in the air, condensing a massive ball of ghostly fire in its hand. The middle-aged man knew he couldn't wait any longer. He had to use his strongest move. He swung his great sword, sending blades of energy upwards to collide with the ghostly fire. Before it could fully form, he sliced the monster in half along with the fire. This was a monster from the Dark Guild. Even when one was cut in two, it could still become nourishment for another, absorbed into its body. After absorption, their power would increase, and another head would grow on their body. Yilfu didn't want to abandon her father and immediately summoned her elven longbow to fight back. Arrows formed from the natural power of the elf shot swiftly towards the monster. Unfortunately, the level gap was too large. She couldn't even break its defense. The middle-aged man didn't know how long he could hold on and only hoped his daughter, Yilfu, would be decisive, but it was already too late. The monsters launched another attack, their limbs stomping the ground with explosive speed, and delivered a powerful punch to the middle-aged man. He flew tens of meters, only stopping after shattering a rock. He was now too weak to fight and could only hope his daughter would seize the chance to escape. But then one monster suddenly merged into the others. Their bodies dissolved like slime and reassembled, finally forming a 20-meter-tall, 3-headed humanoid monster. Yilifa pleaded, "I'll go back with you. Please just let my father go." Unfortunately, the monster had already lost its sanity. Just as Yilfu was filled with despair, an object 100 times larger than the monster suddenly fell from the sky. The surrounding mountains trembled as the 20-meter-tall monster was crushed on the spot. Yilfu was stunned by the sight. It was a mammoth lord as large as a mountain. The 20 meters was smaller than its toe. In fact, on the mammoth lord's head was a mansion where a 1,000-year-old toad sage lived. And on the toad sage's head was a doghouse. The danger has been eliminated. What should we do with these 2 harmless humans? Ribbit bit. Wonkai responded, "Do not harm harmless humans. I will take them back to my master for him to deal with." The scene changed. Yulfa finally woke up after what felt like a long time. She found herself in a strange place. She remembered her father had suffered severe internal injuries and would die if not treated promptly. But when she opened the door, the first thing she saw was her father flexing his muscles. Looping clapped, "Uncle, it must have taken you a lot of time to get that muscular." The man said that for a warrior, physical fitness was the most basic requirement. Lu Ping was excited. So this is the warrior class in another world. It's amazing seeing its master happy. Wang Kai also circled excitedly at his feet, but the nearby Elizabeth was annoyed. She caped Wang Kai away and questioned it. "Who told you, you stupid dog, to bring outsiders back here?" Wang Kai whimpered pitifully. What could it do when it couldn't beat the demon queen? On the other side, Lei Ping poked the man's muscles. "Wow, so firm," the man flexed again. "Since you like it, Mr. Lei Ping, I won't hold back." With that, he activated his burning battle spirit, his clothes bursting as he showed off his favorite muscles for his savior. Unfortunately, this awkward scene was witnessed by his daughter Yilfu. The three of them stared at each other, and the air suddenly fell silent. The man was only trying so hard to please his savior. Lang wanted to go and explain to Yilfu, but was blocked by the jealous Elizabeth. "Now that you're awake, get out. I'm warning you," Elizabeth said, pushing forward with her chest as if declaring her sovereignty to Yilfu. "I was here first," but Ling felt that since guests had arrived, they should be treated with courtesy. He invited the two of them into the house and served them roasted barley tea he had made himself. Yilof's eyes were a bit hazy. "Is this the magical potion you mentioned that heals you instantly after drinking it?" Ling thought she was exaggerating. "I just gave your father some cool well water earlier." The nearby Elizabeth sulked. "Why did this guy bring another girl here? Am I not enough for you?" Just then, the middle-aged man spoke up about what happened that day. "Although I was barely conscious, I was still aware. A strange dog brought us to the farmland. And then Mr. Leping gave me a sip of water. That sip saved me from the brink of death. If it weren't for Mr. Leping, I'm afraid I would never have seen you again, my daughter." Yulfu exclaimed that the tea must be precious. "Can we really drink this?" Ling felt they were being too modest and told them not to be so polite. Hearing Lu Ping's words, the father and daughter finally drank the barley tea without hesitation. As soon as they finished, they felt a surge of magical power overflowing from within, making them feel as if they were lying in a wheat field looking out at the world, even seeing aliens flying by in saucers in outer space. Soon, both of their magic levels broke through, and Yilifu's mother's elven bloodline was even awakened, causing her ears to grow longer. The two of them sighed deeply, amazed that a simple cup of tea could lead to a breakthrough. Lang thought his hospitality was lacking and wanted to pour them another cup of barley tea, but the man was already overwhelmed with gratitude and refused such a precious gift. In truth, Lang also wanted to treat them to drinks and snacks, but Elizabeth had monopolized them all. He could only sigh an apology, completely unaware that the two had been shaken by a single cup of tea. Lang asked about what had happened. "Uncle Boss, why were you attacked?" Uncle Boss replied, "As you can see, Mr. Leping, it's because of the elven bloodline within Yilfu." Yilfu added, "My mother was the holy maiden of the elven race. She fell in love with my father and gave birth to me, but the elves forbid marriage with other races." Leping understood. "So it was the elves who were trying to capture you." Elizabeth questioned this nonsense. "The ban on interracial marriage was abolished after the Demon Queen united the world." Uncle Boss continued, "It's a long story. Ever since Yilof's mother was forced to return to the Elven Holy Land, I've been living in seclusion with Yilifu." Lang thought it was like Romeo and Juliet in another world. "I get it. And then the elves found you and sent people to capture you." Uncle Boss shook his head because of my wife's sacrifice and returning to the elves. "They have forgiven us. The ones hunting us now are apostles from the Dark Guild in the Demon Domain." Hearing the words Demon Domain, Lang subconsciously glanced at Elizabeth. Feeling the strange gaze, Elizabeth flew into a rage. "What do you mean by that?" To get to the bottom of it, Elizabeth had Uncle Boss explain clearly. "What Dark Guild in the Demon Domain? Why are they capturing elves?" Uncle Boss's voice trembled. "It's said that the Dark Guild is conducting mysterious human experiments in an attempt to resurrect a former ruler of the world, Demon Queen Elizabeth." Yilo added, "The elves are one of their materials, so even I, with my unawakened bloodline, have become their target." This time, Ling didn't look at Elizabeth, but he thought to himself, "They've mentioned you by name, and you still say it has nothing to do with you." However, Elizabeth seemed to hear his inner thoughts and flew into a rage again. "Don't think I don't know what you're thinking." Ling was at a loss. I know everything. You've been here with me this whole time. Calm down." Unexpectedly, in the year the Demon Queen and the hero lived together, the outside world claimed that Demon Queen Elizabeth had been dead for 500 years. Elizabeth and the hero Lane were shocked. She had only been living there for a little over a year. Elizabeth wasn't concerned about the time discrepancy. "Does the rumor say how she died?" Yilfo answered truthfully. "According to historical records, Demon Queen Elizabeth was defeated and killed by the legendary hero." Uncle Boss continued. It's said that the battle lasted for a full month. In the end, the legendary hero, in order to protect the continent, perished along with the evil demon queen. Hearing this, Elizabeth's expression turned fierce. The two of them were instantly pulled into an illusion, a land covered in skulls and corpses, with a crimson moon and the smell of blood. Yahello thought it was another spiritual realm, but Uncle Boss said, "This is pure killing intent." Elizabeth retracted her killing intent, explaining that the rumor was false. The two of them coughed up blood and knelt, begging for forgiveness. Just then, Leping pointed to himself. "Because I am that legendary hero, and she is the demon queen Elizabeth you were talking about." The amount of information was so overwhelming that the two of them spurted out blood, 2.5 meters long. However, in Elizabeth's eyes, this scene transformed into something else. "The demon queen you speak of has been imprisoned here by me. Come and laugh at her." After imagining this, she flew into a rage again. "I'm not playing along anymore." With that, Elizabeth walked out of the house. She slammed the door with such force that a section of the wall cracked. Uncle Boss's voice trembled. "Mr. Leping, what do you plan to do with us now?" Lang didn't answer. He was shocked that after Elizabeth broke the time barrier, the time here had become chaotic. 500 years had passed outside. Night fell, Yahello whispered to her father. "So this is the truth from 500 years ago. The demon queen fell in love with the legendary hero and gave up the world to live in seclusion." Uncle Boss told his daughter not to speak nonsense. "Mr. Leping is probably deciding whether to spare us right now." Yafu disagreed. "If Mr. Lang wanted to kill us, why would he have saved us in the first place?" Uncle bossed in their eyes. "We are no different from ants. Whether they kill us or let us live depends entirely on their mood." As the two were talking, Leping walked into the room. "You're still awake. What are you two doing?" Hearing the sudden voice, Yahello was nearly scared to tears. Leping smiled and pulled out a deck of playing cards. "If you can't sleep, let's play cards." The three of them sat together and Leping explained the rules of the game. Yahello felt an ominous aura emanating from the cards and asked Leping what the game was called. Ling thought for a moment, realizing that the people of this world probably wouldn't understand the name Fight the Landlord, so he created a new name on the spot. This game is called Fight the Evil Dragon. The father and daughter were startled again, thinking this was surely a test from the great hero. Meanwhile, Elizabeth used an invisibility spell to hide in the air and secretly observe. Curious about what Leping was doing with them in the middle of the night, Lang said, "The two heroes have to work together to defeat the evil dragon. We can decide whether to be a hero or the evil dragon based on the cards we draw." However, in the father and daughter's vision, Leping's words were, "I'm starting to deal the cards. Think carefully before you choose." Uncle Boss told his daughter to take the cards. There was no room for hesitation now. His daughter nodded and reached for the deck, but the moment she touched the cards, the surrounding scenery suddenly changed, and the father and daughter were once again pulled into a spiritual realm. Yahello felt as though just picking up the cards had drained all her magical power, as if she were experiencing life and death. "I'm sorry," Uncle Boss comforted her. "It's okay. Leave the rest to me." It turned out that every card played was at the cost of his life force. However, the hero, Leping, was completely unaware of this. Unable to think of what card to play, he simply passed. But this put the shriveled, fingered Uncle Boss in a difficult position. He dejectedly asked Leping if he was sure he didn't want to play. Lang smiled and nodded, indicating he would pass. Uncle Boss guessed that Mr. Lang was deliberately letting him continue to play to drain his life force. In this situation, he had to play his cards as quickly as possible. "According to the rules, the combination I played should be called a flying dragon, right?" But as soon as he finished speaking, Uncle Boss's right leg shriveled. The bigger the card played, the greater the cost. Soon, a massive, menacing winged dragon was summoned above the illusory realm. The father and daughter had never seen such a scene and were so scared their eyes nearly popped out. A burst of energy gathered in the dragon's mouth, and a moment later, a blast of dragon's breath shot down, directly hitting the hero, Leping, turning the two of them to stone on the spot. After the attack, the dragon in the sky gradually dissipated. Uncle Boss was terrified. "I just offended the legendary hero. I'm dead for sure." However, Leping was completely unaware, focused on how to respond, but his hand couldn't beat the opponent's flying dragon. "You go ahead." Uncle Boss trembled all over. "I understand." This time he only dared to play a 3. Soon his right middle finger also shriveled. Seeing this, Yahello quickly passed her turn. When Lang saw it was a 3, he played a 10. The father and daughter, given the chance not to play, naturally passed. Leping then played a straight. The moment he played it, Towering waves suddenly rose in the realm before them, as if engulfing the father and daughter in a deep sea. After a brief moment of suffocation, the two of them gasped for air. Can't beat it. Seeing this, Ling continued to play. Next, a three-of-a-kind with a pair. This time the illusion was of two war horses pulling a chariot. Uncle Boss prepared to endure the chariot's impact. I can't beat it. But just then, Yelopu stood up. Wait, Uncle Boss quickly stopped her. That will cost you your life force. But Yelof had made up her mind. I can't always hide behind you. I want to protect you too, Dad. With that, she played a three-of-a-kind with a pair. Soon another chariot appeared in the realm and collided with Ling's. Uncle Boss looked at his daughter in terror. Yilfu, are you okay? But Yilfu's life force hadn't diminished at all, and she firmly stated that she was fine. Leping spoke up. Sometimes you have to break up your own hand to protect your teammate. That's right. What's most important is determination. Uncle Boss looked at his two withered fingers, seeming to understand. Was it because of her determination that my daughter is fine? Ling suddenly grinned mischievously. Determination is important, but unfortunately, it's too late. The father and daughter's faces turned pale. At that moment, even the invisible demon queen had a bad feeling. Lang smiled and played the strongest combination, the king bomb. A huge crack suddenly appeared in the sky of the realm, and two massive arms stretched out from the center of the crack. When the hands pulled the crack open, what appeared was a terrifying-looking clown. At that moment, even Elizabeth couldn't help but shed a cold sweat because Lang had summoned the Supreme Joker King, a 3-star demon god, the same level as Elizabeth. The Joker King first made a heart gesture to the father and daughter, then noticed the equally 3-star demon god, the demon queen nearby. What are you peeking at? Hiding over there? Then the Joker King materialized a dagger and lit the blade. Be careful or I'll kill you. Elizabeth couldn't take the insult. She barely managed to get into position, ready to fight. The father and daughter below were in deep despair, blaming themselves for angering Mr. Leping by playing their cards. Just then, Uncle Boss started coughing violently, blood spewing out as he felt his life force draining away. Lang thought Uncle Boss's injuries hadn't healed yet until he saw the cards on the ground. It turned out the uncle's hand could have won long ago. He had been letting him win all along. Lang didn't want to disturb others' rest and disappointedly shuffled all the cards. This casual action directly erased the illusion of the Supreme Joker King in the realm. Lang packed up the cards and bid the two farewell. That was fun. You two should get some rest. Sorry for bothering you so late. The two of them collapsed on the ground, still alive. The legendary hero is truly unpredictable. However, in Elizabeth's eyes, she believed that Luping's card game with these two was a pretense. His real intention was to send her a warning. The next morning, the two of them bid farewell to the hero and the demon queen. Early in the day, Luping tried to persuade them to stay. Are you sure you don't want to stay for a couple more days? The fruit I planted is almost ready for harvest. Uncle Boss didn't dare to linger. He quickly bowed to the two of them. Mr. Leping, your great kindness will never be forgotten by my daughter and me. Please rest assured, after we leave, we will not speak carelessly. Yila said, Mr. Lang, are you still giving us such a precious gift? Lang chuckled. It's just some ordinary barley tea. Don't mind it. Then he took Uncle Boss's hands in this. Please take it as a souvenir. Uncle, with that, he handed over the deck of cards from last night. Take it. My skills are too poor. It's not suitable for me. Just then, Elizabeth impatiently called out, Hey! Uncle Boss immediately noticed the Demon Queen's mouth shape. In less than a second, the two of them had vanished from sight. Elizabeth turned and walked back into the courtyard. Everything's back to normal. Go make me some food. On the other side, Uncle Boss and his daughter ran for an unknown distance before daring to stop. It turned out that after Ling left that night, Elizabeth had appeared. She had left a mark on each of their necks. I, Elizabeth, command you to leave this place immediately tomorrow, and not to reveal any information about me and the legendary hero being here. If you have the slightest thought of disobeying me, the curse mark on your necks will cause your heads to roll immediately. At that moment, the two of them guessed the truth of history. The demon queen who ruled the world and the legendary hero, Mr. Ling, had grown tired of the world's conflicts and did not want to be disturbed again. Yila suddenly noticed that this place looked familiar. It was where the monsters had been crushed by the Mammoth Lord. Meanwhile, Wong Kai was hiding behind them, secretly watching the two. It was afraid that the demon queen at home would fly into a rage, so it had no choice but to quickly send the two away. Woof woof, something seems to be approaching. Whatever, I don't want to get beaten by that nasty woman again. Then Wong Kai opened a portal and left. At that moment, Uncle Boss looked at the corpses on the ground and had a bad feeling. There will probably be more high-level monsters appearing nearby. We should leave as soon as possible. But as soon as he finished speaking, a large group of apostles from the Dark Guild descended from the sky, blocking their path. The leader was a grand apostle, a 2-star great demon spirit, while the others were the same as the ordinary apostles who had hunted them before. 3- and 4-star demon spirits. Unfortunately, Uncle Boss was only a 3-star grand magus, 2 major stages below his opponents, making him no match for them. To protect his daughter, Uncle Boss opened the deck and repelled the 3- and 4-star demon spirit-level apostles. Then he drew 4 4s from the deck. Card summon. Arrow God descends. Soon the illusion of an elven woman levitated above the 2 of them. Yilifa looked at the illusion and couldn't help but cry out, "Mom!" Meanwhile, the elven woman's illusion drew an elven long bow, shooting an arrow formed from natural power that tore through the void and pierced the heads of the apostles in the front. However, the leading 2-star great demon spirit didn't even bother to dodge, arrogantly catching the unstoppable arrow with one hand. But the moment he caught it, he knew he had misjudged. It was too late. The arrow, as if unstoppable, pierced his head. After it was over, the 4 playing cards returned to the deck, and the elven woman's illusion dissipated. Uncle Boss had used a 4-kind bomb and lost most of his stamina. But this time, he understood the hint the hero had given him. Determination was the key to unlocking the card's true power. From then on, a new profession was born on the continent of heroes, the card master. A week later, Ling was eating a watermelon he had grown in his courtyard. He marveled at how wonderful this magical world was. His fruit cross breeding method had been a great success, but there was no one to share it with. The joy of the harvest seemed to be missing something. He had thought he would be content just farming peacefully. But after having everything and then coming into contact with the outside world, his heart began to stir, wanting to see more. That's how it is, always wanting more, but I'm so weak. I'd better forget it. Just then, Elizabeth's appearance broke the peace. She sat on a chair with a glass of iced drink. "What are you thinking about? You look so down." Ling sighed. "I want to go out and see the world, but I'd better not. I'm too weak." Elizabeth chuckled. "Finally want to leave this place? Then come with me on a trip." Hearing that he would have the Demon Queen's protection, Leping's interest was immediately piqued. Elizabeth nodded. "Enough talk. Go change your clothes." In truth, she felt that the outside world was no match for this place. Then Leping tailored a set of casual clothes for Elizabeth. Elizabeth felt it suited her temperament. "I have to say, your cooking and tailoring skills are both excellent." With that, she snapped her fingers and summoned a portal to a town. "Let's go through here. We can reach the nearest town." Ling praised the convenience of the skill. In fact, he didn't know that his own electronic pet dog, Wang Kai, could also perform magic of this level. But before leaving, Lang asked, "Elizabeth, I have to ask you something. After we see the outside world, will you still come back with me? I don't mean anything by it. Of course, you can leave if you want." However, his words were misinterpreted. "If you want to run away after we go out, I can understand." Elizabeth grew angrier the more she thought about it. How could the one called the most powerful demon queen in history possibly run away? "Until I officially defeat you, I have no interest in anything else. Of course, I'll come back with you." Hearing this, Li Ping breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid of losing the Demon Queen's protection, as his fields could be trampled by nearby monsters at any moment. But Elizabeth set a condition as an apology for your disrespect just now. "You have to agree to one request of mine." Ling thought he had angered the Demon Queen and worriedly asked what the request was, but Elizabeth quickly moved in front of Ling. "After we get back, you have to make me a super Ursize pudding with the newly harvested fruit." Hearing this, Ling was momentarily stunned. So the reason the Demon Queen was staying was for a super Ursize pudding. Soon, both of them stepped through the portal, leaving Wang Kai barking alone in the courtyard. This was the world after being ruled by the Demon Queen for 500 years.